What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for February 28th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday edition of the podcast. I'm feeling very extra feel-gooder today, and let me tell you why. It finally hit me, the reality. I've been waiting for this day since the Super Bowl. And don't get me wrong, been on cloud nine since the Eagles won, but I think with just the fast-pacedness of the celebration afterwards, the week, looking for Super Bowl gear, I went and waited in line at the Plymouth Meeting Pro Shop, and then gearing up, making plans for the parade and all that, it never really, the reality of it never sunk in. And yes, I'm ecstatic about it and everything, but yesterday, as we were taking my daughter to basketball practice, typically I always have 94 WIP on in the truck. And yes, I know, as much as I bitch about them, I listen to them all the time. And quite honestly, if I'm being frank, I do get some ideas from them, but I tweak them or expand on them or use them for ideas for my own. I don't blatantly take them like they do to my stuff. And if I do, I give them credit, but I digress. But taking Ella to basketball practice yesterday, and she was like, "Can we listen to music?" And I said, "You know what? Yeah." And what do you want to listen to? She wanted to listen to "We Will Rock You." I'm like, okay. So we were talking about Queen and this, that, and she loves that song, which obviously that naturally leads into playing "We Are the Champions." And it hit me that, first of all, it was the first time since the Eagles won that I've listened to "We Are the Champions." Usually with the Phillies, and then the first Eagles parade, that was on nonstop. Hadn't listened to it, and as I'm sitting there and we're singing along and getting into it, kind of took me back, and like the reality of it all started to sink in. And I went back to being that kid with the football helmets out of the bubblegum machine, the kid that was filling out the Miller Lite handbook that used to come in the cases of Miller Lite with all the scores and everything like that, and just how far I've come as an Eagles fan, and just how here we are, two-time Super Bowl champions, something that quite honestly never thought I'd see in my lifetime won. And here we are, not only did we win, but being the best team in the NFL. Far and away the best team, most physical, most dominant team in the NFL. And it really hit me. So I'm feeling very good today about the Super Bowl. And I think the reality, it kind of came in waves over the course of the past 3 weeks or whatever. But I think the reality of the situation, it smacked me in the face yesterday. And I'm feeling very, very good today because we're two-time Super Bowl champions. And I did see some folks on Twitter the other day, now that we're 3 weeks or so or somewhere around there removed from the Super Bowl, kind of comparing the two. And I saw a lot of people saying, oh, I like the 52 one better. Oh, I like 59. And for me, I kind of look at it as comparing your kids. And nothing will ever match the experience of the first one. It's the first time you're experiencing something. And again, you substitute kids for anything. But I think just the relief, the way that it was played out, it's like a magical run. They say lightning in a bottle all the time as an analogy in sports or metaphor. And I really think that was lightning in a bottle. And for the longest time, it was like, hey, we got one. But it was kind of I'm trying to think how to word it, because I don't want to say unfulfilling, because hell, we finally won a Super Bowl and it was great. But it kind of felt fluky. We only had one. And really, if you look at the NFC East, everybody else had multiple Super Bowls. So for us to only have one, you still had the, oh, that's cute. And I talked about that on Super Bowl Sunday. But now, the second one is like your second kid. You kind of know what to expect. You're kind of prepared for it. And you sort of... I guess that's what I'm going through right now. You don't the moments are, it's different because you kind of been there before. You kind of know what to expect, but you got to take a minute sometimes to step back and reflect on it. And I guess that's what happened yesterday. Ironically enough, Ella is my second born, and to have that kind of wave of emotion come over me, and I feel like I'm rambling now, but that's okay. But to have that wave of emotion come over me and reflect on it and just let that reality sink in. That was a badass Super Bowl. 100% just badass. It was a badass team. And if you're going to continue to compare it to kids, my Ella is the badass tough one. So just a little rant today on a Feel Good Friday. I'm feeling really good. Thanks once again to Ella. Like the whole experience has been great since that Super Bowl. But I think, like I said, the actual reality of it hit me like a ton of bricks yesterday. And it's an awesome feeling, 100% awesome to be able to go to the parade. And this time, my wife was there, both parades with me, but to experience it with my kids. And like I said, I got kind of emotional because I went back to that kid with the football helmets and the Miller Lite football handbook. And just, man, something I just never, first of all, I never thought I'd see one, but to see two and then to see the second one happen. All of that to say, I don't know if you can compare the two. They both are just as satisfying, but in different ways. And like I said, like kids, friends, whatever, like you love them, but each one brings something different to the table, and that's what these Super Bowls mean. But like I said, the reality of winning the Super Bowl kind of hit me yesterday. And really, if you think about the words to "We Are the Champions," I think it's a perfect sort of metaphor for this team. And I'm sure all teams can kind of make that comparison. But if you really listen to the words, there's a lot of comparisons you can make with this team. So we're Super Bowl champions, and that's amazing. I wanted to say I always strive to give you the accurate information, but when I was talking about Ray Rhodes, I could not think of the quarterback, and it was not Brad Gable. Brad Gable was one of the quarterbacks when Randall hurt his knee in 91. It was, in fact, Bobby Hoyne was the guy I could not think of, so always wanted to get. But either way, if it wasn't, if they didn't believe in Bobby Hoyne so much, maybe Ray Rhodes would have stayed on a little bit longer. But let's stick with the Eagles here a little bit. Like I said, talking about, if you want to tell me which one of the Super Bowls is your favorite, hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line. But like I said, I can't choose which one is the favorite because nothing will ever top the feeling you had that first time you won the Super Bowl. But man, this Super Bowl 59 was just outstanding. And usually the Eagles, in my time, they were the team that would get blown out like that in a Super Bowl. And I think a lot of I'm curious to know. Let me know this. It's not the question of the day, but I bet a lot of it falls on generational lines because if you're around my age and you grew up with the Buddy Ryan era, the Andy Reid disappointment and all that, Super Bowl 52 probably hit a lot different than it did for others. But I don't know. I don't think you can go wrong either way. But the reality of it is, we are Super Bowl champions, and like I said, it's been a great couple weeks here, but it's sunk in. You know how everybody says, "Oh, it hasn't sunk in yet." Well, yesterday for me, it sunk in, and goddamn, let's go win another one and go back to back. But in order to do that, you got to figure out who's going to be on the team first. Obviously, everything's in the combine and right now, and I'd be remiss if I did not mention Mr. Combine, Mike Mamula. Hopefully, I know they used to put more stock in some of the physical attributes at the combine, hence why Mike got picked over Warren Sapp. But it is combine week, so looking at the rookies, and lots of talk about Myles Garrett, who did come out yesterday and said he's not signing an extension with the Browns. So they're standing firm that they are not trading him. But I did see this little nugget, which I didn't ever really put the connections together. And everybody's talking, oh, he's going to go to Washington or Detroit. The Eagles are kind of in the mix as well. There's talk about Howie Roseman not allowing him to go to Washington. And first of all, I don't think you can do that if you're Howie Roseman. You can't say, oh, well, we'll up and give you an offer you can't refuse just so he doesn't go to Washington. I feel like that's like a loser mentality. And I don't see Howie Roseman necessarily doing that. And I know that's what the rumor was. However, the general manager of the Cleveland Browns is Andrew Berry, who worked under Howie for a year. So there already is an established relationship there. I don't know if that means anything, but there is an established working relationship there between Andrew Barry and Howie Roseman. So I thought that was a very interesting tidbit. He was like VP of football operations or some title like that. Basically kind of like one of Howie's cabinet members. So there is a strong working relationship. I don't know if they got along, but I don't want to start connecting dots and speculating. However, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. All right. Some housekeeping notes. Obviously, today is our last day of our Black History Legacy Makers with Philadelphia ties. Tomorrow, we're going to kick off Women's History Month as well as March Madness and spotlight some women's Big Five Hall of Famers. There's so many to choose from, and narrowing this list down, there's going to be some that I probably left off that I shouldn't have, but it was just there are hundreds of, or maybe not hundreds, but tons to choose from, and only 31 days. So I had to kind of whittle it away, but we'll start that tomorrow. The Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame ballot is out. You have a chance as fans to get your voice heard. Go to the link in the description, fill out your ballot, and if your ballot most closely matches the official 2025 induction class, you will win two VIP tickets to the ceremony in November. Already starting to tally, probably have like 50 votes in. I'll have more on the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame likely either tomorrow or next week, but lots of good things going on there. I finally figured out how to get the YouTube video link to post on the archives. That link is in the description. Lots of good things happening over there. But if you want to win two VIP tickets to the ceremony in November, fill out a ballot. And if it most closely matches the official induction class, you'll win two VIP tickets to the ceremony at Live Casino in November. And then while you're at it, check out my friends over at onpattison.com. Lots of great Phillies sports coverage. Get the newsletter delivered right to your inbox. We're featured in there a couple times a week. John and the guys over there are doing a great job, so go support them and check it out. You might learn something too. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mott on Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, at PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mott. Continue to spread the word as big things are on the horizon for us this year, so just continue to spread the word. I do want to, before we get into the rest of the episode, I do want to say congratulations to the Upper Dublin boys basketball team who just completely destroyed Holy Ghost Prep last night to win the District 1 championship. It's their 28th straight game they've won in a row. They dropped the season opener to Lower Merion and haven't lost since, heading like a steam freight train into the PIAA playoffs. So congrats to the Upper Dublin boys for winning the District 1 championship last night. 28 straight. That's impressive. Very impressive. Got to see them once this year in person. They're a good team. So if you're into high school sports like we talked yesterday, keep an eye on the Upper Dublin Cardinals. All right, Flyers lost in overtime to the Penguins last night, 5-4. Blew a 3-0 lead. Second period woes. They had the Little League period, but did battle back to send it to overtime. Got the point. 4 straight games now with a point. Matvei Michkov had 2 goals and an assist, and he's starting to play more consistently. I guess you could say getting his sea legs under him, getting adjusted to the rigor of the NHL schedule. But he's going to be good. He's going to be so good. I was able to watch some of it, and the Penguins did come down. I watched some of that second period, unfortunately, but the Flyers are up 3-0. Penguins came down, scored 2 quick goals, and then Michkov with the answer. He's a sniper. He's going to be so good. If you haven't had a chance to watch him yet, I highly recommend it. There's 22 games left in the Flyers season. They're 6 points back of the final wild card spot. So they're going to give us some entertainment that the Sixers obviously are not. So Flyers lost 5-4 in overtime last night to the Penguins, but got the point. Very important at this point in the season. Get points any way you can. All right, Phillies. Interesting one in Clearwater yesterday. They tied the Yankees, but that's irrelevant. But Chris Wheeler, I always say that. Zack Wheeler looked sharp. He was in midseason form yesterday, 4 strikeouts in 2 innings. But Kyle Schwarber, and the whole thing is interesting to me. Still have him, he was batting leadoff. The reasoning is they want him to see pitches, but played him at first base. And that really, everybody's like, why are you putting him there? Blah, blah. And it got me thinking, and I don't know, but I could see this if it works out, where instead of putting him in left field every now and then to get some time in the field, if you put him at first base, you give Bryce a day off or JT a day off, but Bryce could have a day off, JT could DH, and you could put Marchand or Stubbs or whoever becomes the backup catcher. I think I kind of like it. It gives you somewhat more flexibility, allows Bohm to stay at third rather than switching between first and third. And then it allows you to get Edmundo Sosa's bat if he can continue on left field. And I know it's early. I know I could be speculating with that. Could have been something Schwarber's like, let me play first base today. And Topper's like, okay. But I thought that was interesting. What I'm more concerned about is, and I don't know, and maybe it's been a long time since I've played competitive baseball, but there is a different mindset between leadoff and cleanup. And you would think, since he's bad at leadoff for the past 3 years or whatever it's been, you'd want to get him some work hitting in that cleanup spot. But I don't know. I don't mind him at first base. Sure, it's going to be a liability. But I think it gives you more flexibility with the lineup. You could keep if JT's hot and he gets a day off, you can keep his bat in the lineup as a DH. And then get Edmundo in there, give Bryce some more rest. Who knows? But that was it. And then Jose Alvarado, we talked about him a couple weeks ago, posting his workout videos on Instagram. Did hit 100 yesterday, pitched 1, 2, 3 innings. So that's he's going to be a key piece, I think, to this bullpen, because that's one of the question marks about this team. But if he can consistently and accurately hit 100, look out, man. And then Gabriel Ricones hit another homer yesterday. And, man, if this kid can stay healthy, he's battled injuries since he's been in the Phillies system. He could end up at Lehigh Valley this year, which means who knows? I still think he's a year or two away from coming up to the big club, but I think we should remember his name, because if he can stay healthy, this dude's going to be a stud. All right. Because we're obligated to talk about them because they're a Philly sports team, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. In light of Paul George saying he's going to postpone his podcast in order to focus on basketball with 25 games left, I asked you, what is the worst free agent signing in Sixers history? People were all over the place with this one. 50% said Paul George. I think that's probably a little bit of recency bias. I can't argue that it's not. I still go Al Horford. But a few people mentioned Kenny Thomas. A few people mentioned Elton Brand. Both good answers. Somebody mentioned Matt Geiger. And, yeah, that was an interesting one too. But I do feel in that finals run that he was able to take up some of those fouls against Shaquille O'Neal. And truthfully, if it wasn't for Matt Geiger, Iverson may have gotten traded. If you remember, there was a trade in place, and because I forget who they were trading him to, it might have been Detroit, didn't want Matt Geiger or backed out, or Matt Geiger failed the physical or whatever it was, that nixed the trade, or else Allen Iverson would have been gone from Philly before that 2000 championship run. And then a lot of people brought up the name Andrew Bynum, and I can honestly say that's probably the worst acquisition in Sixers history, but that was a trade. They did trade. It was like a 4-team, very convoluted trade to get Andrew Bynum, but it was a trade. It wasn't a free agent signing. But thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. We will have one later in the show. Some Joel Embiid news. His rest of the season is up in the air. They're not sure what's going to happen. I did see a report from Shams that he has been getting injections into his knee just to try to, I guess, manage the pain or whatever. And I'm not sure, to be honest, based on that report, if the Olympics had any impact on his knee. It's kind of sounded to me almost as though there's more of like a degenerative issue with his knee, which he could have sat out all summer and worked and rehabbed and still had the same issue this year. But at this point, let the young guys play. I mean, you're at this point, you're 2.5 out of the 10th spot. You're a game up for the 6th draft pick. You're only a game and a half back of the 5th spot. Let some of these young guys play, see what you have, and just focus on next year. Paul, go back to your podcast. That's fine. We don't need you focusing on basketball. But they're right there. They're teetering right now between making that run for the plan and playing for draft positioning. I say teeter this way. Try to move up, because the lower your draft pick is, the harder it is to fall back out of that 6th spot. So, and who knows? You can always have a shot of winning the lottery. Maybe because Adam Silver was there when Josh Harris announced the new arena deal. They're talking very hard about getting a WNBA team. Maybe because the NBA lottery is the most insanely secretive, shady thing there is. So who knows what goes on behind the scenes, but hey, maybe they'll fix it so the Sixers can win the lottery. I don't know. All right, that's enough Sixers. I'm feeling good on a Feel Good Friday. I don't want to bring it down anymore. Check out my boys over the Clashing Conferences podcast. Lots of good things happening with their sports fan network in general. If you go to clashingconferences.com, you can go check out what they have what they're offering and what you can do and how you can get involved. And then Philly Goat. Get the shoes. It's canvas loafer season. I just ordered my slides yesterday for the pool. They got you covered when it comes to shoes. I'm still trying to figure out, like I said, the bird wings, how to coordinate that with shorts. I just don't know if I got the legs to pull it off. But go check out what they got. Get the championship. Every time I look at those championship shirts, I talk to you about the one with the team that's like the 92 Dream Team one. I just realized looking at it yesterday, A.J. Brown's reading Inner Excellence on the shirt. So go buy the shirt. Go check out everything Philly Goat has to offer. Be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, today, got a little Feel Good Friday doubleheader. 2 important events happen on this day in Philly sports history. First, we're going to go back to 2008. And on this day in 2008, the MLS announced that Philly had been chosen to get an expansion team. The Philadelphia Union will begin their play in Chester in 2010. This year, the Union are celebrating their 15th season. Hard to believe it's been 15 years. I still remember the day that they announced this. But in 15 years, the Union have been a solid MLS team. 8 playoff appearances. They won 1 Eastern Conference championship. Remember that one in 2022 when it was just disappointment after disappointment. They won the Supporters Shield 1 time and 2 regular season Eastern Conference titles. But on this day, the Philadelphia Union were born in 2008. They wouldn't begin play until 2010. But Chester, the city of Philadelphia, everyone was excited about it. And then nothing probably from a Philly standpoint in the past, since probably they won the World Series. The excitement of this day, I still remember this. On this day in 2019, the landscape of the National League East shifted slightly when the Phillies signed Bryce Harper to a 13-year, $330 million deal. In his 6 years so far in Philly, he's hit .285, 152 homers, 455 RBIs, led them now to 3 straight playoff appearances, won an MVP. That also includes the COVID year when they only played like 50-some games. But Bryce has been worth the price of admission since they signed him, but hasn't been able to get the Phillies over the hump. And that leads us to today's question of the day. From a legacy standpoint, we've talked a lot about legacies the past couple weeks. But from a legacy standpoint, is this a make or break year for Bryce Harper? I kind of think it is. I mean, and not taking anything away from Bryce, because Bryce has been clutch when they needed it. But does he need to really step up as more of the leader and getting guys faces when they're not doing what they need to do? So I really do think this is a make or break year for Bryce's legacy. But what do you think? 267-495-8531. That's a Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that, anything else Philly sports related off of your chest. But I certainly think this is a make or break year for the entire team, to be honest. But I think everything, because of how much he makes and because he's the face of the franchise, I think this is a make or break year for Bryce Harper. And then finally today, our final Black History Legacy Maker with Philly ties. We're going to kind of come full circle from where we were at the beginning of the month. And today we're going to celebrate Zack Clayton. Zack was born in Virginia but moved to Philadelphia as a kid, graduated from Simon Gratz. Now, he was a Negro League baseball player. Average, nothing spectacular. He wasn't a superstar. But he also was a professional basketball player, and he played with the legendary New York Rens with Tarzan Cooper. He grew up in the Christian Street YMCA playing with Tarzan. Zack also made it to the Globetrotters, won world championships with both of them, but he wasn't done. When he retired, he became a boxing referee and was the referee when George Foreman knocked out when Muhammad Ali knocked out George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle. He was also the ref for Muhammad Ali's last fight against Trevor Berbick. So Zack is in the Naismith Hall of Fame, the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, and the Philadelphia Basketball Hall of Fame. But all of his accolades on the field and on the court and in the ring are well documented and great. But he was just a great community guy. He served in the Philadelphia Fire Department as a lieutenant for 26 years. Basically a community hero, always serving as a mentor, helping out young people, and inspiring so many that you can do so much, especially as an African American at the time in Philadelphia. But Zack Clayton is today's final Philadelphia or Black History Legacy Maker with Philadelphia's ties. Negro League baseball player, Hall of Fame basketball player, boxing referee, ref some of the biggest fights. I know from talking with my dad how big that Ali Foreman fight was. And really, though, Zack's legacy is giving back to the community, serving the community as a firefighter, and just serving as a mentor and an inspiration for everybody. So thank you, Zack, for all you've done to help inspire and mentor the youth of the city of Philadelphia, as well as the region. Thank you for your accolades on the court, on the field, and in the ring. And we salute you today as our Black History Legacy Maker with Philly ties. Now, hope you enjoyed the Black History Legacy Maker Spotlight we did this month. If you want to go back and listen to any of them, I do have them cut up into just the Black History Legacy Maker clips on YouTube, on my social media. But hopefully you got something out of that. But that's all available on the YouTube channel. That's why I tell you to subscribe. On this day in 2019, Philly signed Bryce Harper to a 13-year, $330 million contract. Still has not brought home a title yet, but is this the year? I don't know. Is it a make or break year? Let me know your thoughts on that as well. And then in 2008, Philadelphia was named an expansion city for the MLS. The Union would begin play in Chester in 2010. Hopefully, they will be bringing home an MLS Cup soon. Let me know your thoughts on the Super Bowl. Like I said, I can't choose between the two, but the reality has finally sunk in, and we are Super Bowl champions here on a feel-good Friday. Be sure to check out those Upper Dublin Cardinals as they gear up for the PIAA state playoffs. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for February 28th, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a feel-good Friday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.